All right, how are you doing, ladies and gentlemen? So, real quick before I dive into things, don't forget to subscribe, like, and all that great stuff that YouTube's algorithm really likes. Another very important announcement, boys and girls, there are only 4 days left to join the membership on Patreon on a discounted price. This $30 tier will be hiked in about 4 days to $50. That thing will be $50 instead of 30, and then gradually hiked every month until it reaches $99. So, ladies and gentlemen, sign up. You get a whole bunch of perks, once a month meeting, basically daily updates that I update my community on the Discord. In fact, let me bring it up right here real quick. You can see, of course, there is the Academy partition that is available only for the Academy students. Shout out to you, you beautiful legends. Of course, we have our Patreon where we just hang out and I post all sorts of videos. We're talking about all sorts of fun things, right? Especially the market. We post relevant posts about the market. Greg's charts, which of course my portfolio. Haven't had a big change recently. I'm still on the QQE and planning to buy more simply because I am expecting a severe drop down in the market. As you can see, I'm updating the members on a daily basis, sometimes every hour, sometimes multiple times an hour, showing my expectation. I have no biases. I'm absolutely open and transparent. I show the people, even if I expected one thing or another didn't happen, I don't delete it real quick and then pretend I didn't say it. No, I don't do that. I'm not one of those people, and it's fine. People need to understand what it is that I'm doing and trying to do. If I would have been trying to day trade, which I've proven to many people, like about 1 billion times so far, I'm more than able to do so. It's just not my goal right now. That's not what I'm looking to do. Okay? I'm more so focused on the overall sort of structure of how the market looks like in the grand scheme of things. And I'm more than prepared for this downwards trend, which is also kind of very funny that people are very blind to what's going on. And I hear this over and over again. It's like, how come the market didn't, announce this or another drop? For example, the other day, just also this really highlights, as I was saying in my other video, how bad emotionally unstable just the market is right now, and with the tiniest movement people kind of swerve off their thesis. The fear sips in very, very rapidly. Why? Because they see their profit and loss being affected very, very rapidly. Because again, the numbers on the screen, guess what? They don't care about your emotion today. They're simply going to be affected by what the market has done or your level of preparedness, right? So let's talk about what the price action has done today. Really, so far, not that much. My expectation was rather that by the time we get towards the end of the session, which we are roughly right now looking at 1 hour, 19 minutes away from, and my expectation is we simply would have been able to achieve or sort of close this process far faster. As I was seeing the loss of momentum, my expectation was that we will remain, actually objectively, we still are in essence residing on that 6972.60. Of course, some people will look at this, but Greg, we are not. We are at 6992. No, I don't mean it per se. I mean it in the sense of which level we're revolving around, because the natural daily price action will be moving us up and down. Treat the daily price action almost as traffic, right? As crosswinds that happen regardless of whether you're liking it or not. It's just going to happen, right? And so that's actually pretty normal at the end of the day. We are still sort of within the framework of normality. We're basically doing this double top, what appears to be some form of a double top. In case you're not clear, the double top, here it is, right? Of course, that is sort of residing on the very same support and resistance level. No, those are not part of that top section, if you will. Also very interesting, again, these formations usually do break down to our very well-known head and shoulders patterns, inverted head and shoulders patterns, that usually are very indicative of change of direction, especially at the major checkpoints. Those who understand the cyclicality, of course, will understand that the meaning of what I just said better than others. At the end of the day, what we're looking at, we have to be very attentive to the momentum. And as I was warning many, many, many times, we may see the price action sort of fall into this wedge before breaking down. If we're objectively looking right now on the daily chart, and we're looking at our stochastic RSI, we're right now objectively bullish. We're not very strong bullish, but we are bullish, okay? And we are having clear movement towards the overbought territory, which we're not seeing convergence right now. They're running, the two forces are running parallel to one another, and so they're not indicating of any change or convergence and subsequent change in direction. which is not necessarily the highest level of indication I would use, because it appears to be like, for me, it appears that the market is preparing for a shutdown, right? For the shutdown that we're going to have on Saturday. It appears that the market makers are positioning themselves in advance for what they perceive to be the upcoming price action, right? If we objectively look at how the chart is looking, how our momentum on the stochastic RSI is looking, we are now again seeing some closer confluence, because we did see these forces already have confluence and then diverge again. That is not an abnormality, but that is also will be very soon to change. We are coming to the end of the month. Subsequently, the two forces will have confluence, or so it appears. We'll gonna have a crossover, and basically our D will have dominance at that stage, and D does end up representing our more so bullish tendency in the market. Does that necessarily mean that that moment that they will have a crossover, everything will break and collapse? It can, not necessarily, probably not. That usually not how things work. But yes, we will see more of a clear divergence towards the downside rather than what we're seeing right now. Okay. Of course, everything that I'm saying will highly affect the rest of the market. By the way, a quick shout out to Polina and the rest of my community, the rest of the members. We just had a wonderful meeting discussing precious metals, silver in particular, its cycle, what we expect to see, and what are the abnormalities, what makes more sense, what is the structure, what is the support and resistance levels, the main ones, of course, we care about mainly. How the momentum is set up right now. Yeah, you can kind of see leftovers of that session. Of course, all of it is inside, but or rather, I mean, it's set on a different time frame, and so it looks less discombobulating if you know what you're looking at. Shout out to my amazing community and members of the academy. We just had a beautiful meeting discussing all these things, where the cycle can and how it may behave. I know it looks utterly insane to most people, but I promise it's not. It actually makes a lot of sense to those who know and been on the lesson, which, by the way, that lesson is recorded. All of you academy members who have not been on the session, I know that session was not our usual session, but still it was fully recorded, and everybody can go in and watch it right now on the Discord, in the archive. It's there, and you can find it and watch it. Okay, so I'm just amused by the insanity level of how it looks. Pardon me, boys and girls. That's it. I think that's all I wanted to highlight about today. I already made another video telling you how and why I think the psychological effects of how they sort of the sentiment is switching back and forth also rapidly again and again every other day, and with every tiny movement, as most people drag their averages up with them, right? Now their average cost price is basically running with them as they're DCAing. Guess what? You're hiking it every time you DCA with the higher price. And now, with the slightest movement, the slightest gust of wind, so to speak, in the market, they are getting highly affected because they're seeing their P&L being affected enough, and because it's so close to actually bringing them down, they're far more so nervous. And so we're actually seeing that the effects of that, which is, to me, absolutely amusing. Like, if you're at that stage and you're so fearful for the tiniest movement, I mean, maybe you should do something about it, right? I'm not going to tell you what you should do about it. Of course, in the community we discuss. Can I say something? I am horrified how many people on YouTube talk about my method of cutting down a third, right? Liquidating a third of your profits or portfolio, your actual portfolio as it stands, without actually understanding the reasoning and the full logic of it. I mean, I have taught my good friend Tom Nash how it works and why we do that, that whole principle that stands behind it. But I have noticed how a lot of people recently have sort of picked up on that and now started copying Tom without even knowing that it came from me, and what does it mean and how does it even work. And it's just funny to watch. I'm just gonna say it's hilarious to watch. Anyway, boys and girls, so I will warn you, this is more of a warning. What people don't realize, that the loss of momentum, and to some it's going to be very unclear, actually happened at the end of 2025. And what we're experiencing right now is us coasting, or more so gliding on the leftovers of the momentum that was generated throughout 2025. So right now, what you're seeing is exactly that process of loss of momentum. The problem is that you, as the uninitiated, experience the market day by day, and all it takes is one good day for you to be emotionally more comfortable with the abnormalities of the market, while in reality the market is literally yelling and screaming and sounding the alarm for us for the past several months that it is about to fall very rapidly. Again, things may change, right? But I don't think that the smaller scale behavior, which can in essence misbehave a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. No, not really to the left. Price action does not go to the left. That would mean price action went back in time. But I mean more so the seeing the effects of the crosswinds, right? So on the grand scheme of things, boys and girls, I really stand by my thesis, and it's not my thesis as much as it is what I am being told by the market, that the intention of the market to do. I am merely following the signs and the signals that the market gives me, interpret them, and plan my route ahead, of course. It does appear that, like I said, today's price action is somewhat abnormal, but still within the framework of what we can experience at that stage of the cycle. At that stage of the cycle is usually the most abnormal, not usually, always, literally. If you follow back in history, you'll find, of course, if you know what point to compare, you'll realize that this point is the most abnormal. That's it, boys and girls. I'm sorry for that extra tangent I had right there. Don't forget to like, subscribe. All the links are in the descriptions below. If you are a Palantir holder, I highly recommend going to my channel and watching the Palantir video, because Palantir is highly indicative of where we're moving right now. In fact, I was kind of warning that in advance. Man, literally, I was warning about this more than a year ago. The problem is that we ended up having the higher band, the sideways band that you now see that we've been moving within for, well, quite a long time, pretty much since, you can argue we entered this channel since around June 2025. So we've been in this thing for quite a long time, okay? And those who are not able to recognize what's going on, and sure, this was an amazing opportunity for the swing. Jesus, I'm going on a long tangent. I'm sorry, boys and girls. The rest of that crap in the Palantir video, just go and watch it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. If you didn't like the video, dislike. I really don't care. Have a great day, everyone. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.